So good afternoon. My name is Justin Day. I'm with the Delaware Department of Technology and Information. And in my role as the Director of Data Center and Operations, I oversee a team of 100 as part of the central IT provider in the state of Delaware for the executive branch agencies and also the legislative branch. As part of the Delaware Department of Technology and Information, we provide all core services to each branch of government, including the judiciary, legislative branch, and the executive branch, also with public schools. In the last 10 years, we have undergone a significant IT centralization program, which has now brought us into the end-to-end business. So we also provide end-user services to the executive branch and the legislative branch. So in my capacity, in the role that I serve in, I oversee the team that not only provides services and oversight for all of the mission critical infrastructure, but also for all end user services within the state of Delaware. We have, as part of our overall enterprise data center strategy, it's a hybrid approach in the sense that we have 10 years ago, we embarked on IT centralization. Phase one of that focused purely on brick and mortar infrastructure within the state. So prior to 10 years ago, with respect to IT services, Delaware was a very decentralized state, which meant that you had your haves and you had your have-nots. So state agencies that had robust revenue streams had acquired over the years their own data centers, and agencies that did not have as a robust revenue stream did not have their own data centers and relied on the central IT provider to provide them with those services. So what we did, at the time, Governor Markell issued an executive order. This was in 2009, and said that, due to the financial shape that the state's in, and then also the overall U.S. economy, we wanted to take a look at where we can provide the most economical way of cutting costs while still being able to deliver services in a way that is going to improve the quality of lives of Delawareans. So what we did was we said, okay, for IT centralization phase one, hardware centralization. I was the person who led that effort, and so I looked at any infrastructure within the state of Delaware that was currently housing mission critical infrastructure. And so I worked with those agency partners, and at the time the agency partners were only accustomed to partnering with the central IT provider, who I work for, in a way that only provided them with network services. So as far as being accustomed to not only who I was or my team or what value we could deliver to them, that was all very new. So within government, even though taxpayers, at the end of the day, we need to be providing value to with respect to the money that they're putting into the system, we found that agency partners very much were looking for ways in which we could demonstrate value, ways in which we could build our credibility and establish a reputation. And the only way we could really do that is through consistency and to show how much we care to understand each agency partner's business. So we embarked on a statewide strategy with each individual agency, because everyone is unique, right? So whether it's within the Department of State or the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Transportation, the Department of Finance, everyone and each agency partner has their own specific goals and value that they bring to the citizens of Delaware. So through this effort, as far as being able to not only establish a rapport, but build these relationships in a way that the credibility that we could bring to the table with providing infrastructure services to those agency partners was a way in which we built our centralization model through, at the time, was a on-prem colo service offering within the central state data center. Sounds pretty simple, but because you're talking about public safety, public health, and all the agencies. Not everyone was a willing participant at the time to centralize all their equipment to the central IT or central data center. So the way that we went about doing the hardware centralization through the colo offering, we had a roadmap that was established that said once you opt in on the colo offering, then we will work with you through our engagement team to go from being a colo service provider to a fully managed service provider. That would fully maximize the efficiencies that we have in play for licensing, whether it's with VMware or any of the other Oracle and software providers that we have, so we could fully maximize the taxpayer's dollar. And I have to just add, though, from the moment when this started in 2009 with Governor Markell to where we are today with Governor John Carney and CIO James Collins, who I report up to today, the fact that each executive has been on board and wanting to build on the successes of the previous executive has allowed us to continue the momentum and build on that and to fully maximize areas of efficiency that otherwise wouldn't have gotten the necessary attention. So looking at the edge is a great segue to our overall data center strategy. Delaware is fully centralized when it comes to IT shared services, and all the executive branch agencies means that now, and one of the things that CIO Collins stresses all the time, how are we going to be able to move at the cadence and pace of our agency partners? A few of those agency partners that we are working with now that have very high goals and objectives to meet is around transportation, agriculture, public health, and finance. The biggest one being transportation. So our transportation, and whether it's for autonomous vehicles, which is something that is going to be alive and well in Delaware just around the corner. We've made purchases for autonomous vehicles, and we're looking at not only from a policy and regulation standpoint as to how to manage that type of environment, but also from an IT perspective around signaling infrastructure and how to support that in a space that people's lives depend on it. So one of the things that we've done is we, through our partnership with the Department of Transportation and our oversight and management of those sites that house and host mission critical applications and infrastructure, we are positioning the Department of Transportation to be able to take on the first pilot programs with autonomous vehicles, which will be shuttles in a contained space to start developing our use cases around autonomous vehicles and ultimately being able to make them more widely available to the citizens of Delaware. One of the big aspects, though, to this is on the regulation piece, given the fact that the federal government regulates the car and the states regulate the drivers, and with autonomous vehicles, there are no drivers, right, in the highways. So one of the key areas, though, that we've been able to provide value with respect to the Department of Transportation and their services, or even the Department of Agriculture or Department of Finance, is through our robust network that we support. So we have a fiber network that is very robust throughout the state that provides not only the response time that's required in order to run these types of systems, but also it's something that allows for enough redundancy, so the confidence is there for us to be able to support what's out there. 5G is still a few years away with respect to Delaware. I see that as something that's viable, but it's not something that it might be in the out years on the roadmap. It's not something that we are necessarily depending on at this point. And the reason why is with respect to, especially around transportation initiatives, is that outside of transportation, we also have on our public safety network, we have an 800 megahertz network, which is essentially a series of towers, very much like cell towers throughout the state of Delaware, that runs our public safety, first responder, firefighter, and ambulance network. And we also leverage some of those sites as core fiber locations, which are part of our edge right now. And we're looking at various options, whether it's going to be 5G or other alternatives, to be able to spin up applications as appropriate within those locations, as opposed to requiring an autonomous vehicle to call back to, whether it's New York, Chicago, San Francisco. We have everything there on site, and also the central IT organization that I work for continues to ensure that our agency partner, in this case transportation, has what they need to deliver on the services that they are intending to for the citizen. To us, edge starts with the network, right? And in Delaware, as a side note, Delaware being the corporate capital of the world, and with the majority of corporations being incorporated there, and in Delaware, it's very much seen as the crown jewel. From a network or from an IT perspective, our network for the IT folks is very much the crown jewel. And by leveraging our network, we are able to establish these edge sites so our agency partners are able to quickly enable services for the citizens that they serve.